Baby, here I go, start the show, beat on my heart, now about to explode. I'm about to explode. Feel good, what I'm feeling.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Ignite Your TruSelf. I am Ericka Sallee, your host for this conversation, and I am super excited to be sharing this topic with you for tonight that we're going to get into in just a few moments. But before I do that, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the show and to introduce you to who I am in case this is the first time that you are here in this space, whether you're watching live on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. So as a speaker, a self-help author, and transformation success coach, I get super excited about helping my clients to figure out what stands in the way of their success. And so as a personal coach to women and a professional development or back it up, I'm getting it all twisted. As a professional development facilitator for organizations, I do use those as platforms to do just that, to figure out what is it that's blocking you or blocking your teams from moving forward to be the best version of yourself so that you can show up in the world and bring what it is that you have on the inside to share. All right. And so this is one of the platforms that I get to use in order to just give you little tidbits. So when I say ignite your true self, this is all about giving you some nuggets, a little bit of a flame to help you keep moving forward into that next thing. And those little steps are the things that get us closer to whatever that true self, your essence, the way that you feel personally, professionally, and really having a sense of mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. Like when all of those things are put together in a nice package, then we really can operate from a place of wholeness so that we can feel fulfilled and we can be purposeful all at the same time. Wow. So trying to just get that out there. A little bit of a challenge tonight, but here we are. And so whether you are watching in the evening, in the daytime, whatever time you happen to see this conversation, I do believe that it will be the right time. And so let me first say that today is March the 30th. So we have one day left in the month, which is actually hard to believe. Like Saturday is April the 1st. And it just amazes me because time just moves on so very quickly. And we just have to recognize that and then be willing to move along with it. So hopefully you will hear exactly what you need to hear in this conversation tonight to help you do that. And so because we have one month or one day left in the month, that also means that it is Women's History Month, right? So, it's been amazing to think about some of the achievements of women past, present, and those who will come after us. And so recognizing that this year's theme is celebrating women who tell their stories is something that is important because we all have a story to tell. And it is part of those stories and the rich fabric of those stories that really help to define who we are. And then it helps to shape what we are able to give out to the world. Now, when I say that, the world for you might mean in your job, it might mean in your family, your organization, your church. It might literally mean the world, but whatever that looks like, be sure to use your voice, our voices as women to do just that, because I do believe that that is what changes the world. And so as we close out or prepare to close out, I do want to share a couple of things. You know, I had jotted something down earlier today as I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to share in terms of Women's History Month. And I was watching something and I just happened to stumble on it, but I do believe that everything happens for a reason. There are no mistakes and no coincidences. So I was flipping channels and I happened to see an interview with Angela White. Now, Angela White is also known as Black China. And I really didn't know how to describe her when I was trying to think about sharing with you. I was watching a series maybe about, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago, and she happened to be in this series. I didn't know who she was at the time, but I would see her name in the credits at the beginning of the show. And then I started hearing the buzz about her and some of the things that she was doing in her life to change. And so when I looked up on Wikipedia, I'm like, how do I describe her? So here's what I will say. The way she is described is as a model and as a socialite. She's got some history as a stripper. Now, I'm saying this because this is part of her story. This is what she shares out. So this is not secret, and I'm not putting any kind of shade out there, but this is a part of her life. This is a part of her story. And so, as part of her journey moving into the social scene, she's been very vocal about having breast and butt augmentation or implants and things of that nature. And she's had it in her breast, she's had it in her butt, and she's had it in her face. Now, if you look at her, she's a beautiful, beautiful girl. And I'm going to say it this way, she's a beautiful woman. And so today I'm listening to her story, and she's talking about how, and this is going around social media, so you may be familiar with her story, at least a part of it. So she's talking about how she made the decision to begin to revert back to her original self. So all of the work that she's had done, she has decided to get it undone. And so she's been taking her followers on a journey on this whole process, the emotional part of it, the physical part of it, and just really sharing with her followers and her tribe about this experience that she's having. So the reason that I'm sharing it here as we close out Women's History Month is because I thought I want to share this story. And the reason that I want to share this story is because each of us as women, number one, has a story. You see it at the bottom of the screen, celebrating women who tell their stories. And so now she's at the point where she's telling her story. She's talking about the reasons behind her reverting back to her original self and undoing the work that she's had done for a number of reasons. She wants to be healthier. She wants to go in a new direction in her career with doing a little bit more acting and, really preparing herself physically, mentally, emotionally to take that on. And she's moved into a new spiritual area of her life. And she talked about working out and just being really mindful of how she's showing up for herself and how she's showing up for her children. Now, I'm having this conversation not so much to emphasize the world of body augmentation. Okay. That's a separate conversation for not today. But what I do want to focus on is just the transformation that she's going through. And as part of Women's History Month, the thing that stuck out the most is that she said, and this is, me paraphrasing and kind of summing up her conversation. She basically said, I'm at a stage in my life where I've been through this, I've been through this, I've been through this, and all of it has gotten me to this point where I felt like I needed to do something differently. I needed to do something that was going to make me feel like I was being better for myself and better for my children. And so as women, when we think about our history and what we are creating, all of us have an opportunity to look at the very same thing that Blac Chyna is talking about. And I'm going to refer to her as Angela White, because in the interview, that's how she was being referred to. So I feel like as part of her transformation, she's moving away from that and going back to, her given name at birth. So more to come on that. And I surmise that based on what she was saying, that's really where she's moving toward. But when we think about women, our change, our transformation, there's so many little things that happen to us over the course of our lives, so many experiences that we have, challenges, highs, lows, ups, downs, celebrations, successes, wins, losses, all of the things. And packaged up in that is the opportunity for us to figure out, where am I right now? how have these experiences helped to shape me? And then where do I go from here? And this is something that I talk about a lot with my clients. It's something that, I'm going through myself with figuring out, okay, here's a major life change that I've been through. Here's, where I am. Here's how I got here. Now, what do I want to do? And all of that is an opportunity for growth and for us to create the best versions of ourselves. And so as we think about Women's History Month, the thought is, well, what history are we creating for ourselves? And what history have we already been given through our personal experiences that will then help shape the future of where we want to go, using that history as a backdrop, as a lesson learned, as an opportunity to grow from? So I know that was a lot, but I really wanted to make sure that I use that as an example, because I was just really, the moment I saw her on screen, I was just dialed in to what she was saying. And when I walked away from the interview, I knew that I wanted to share it out with you. So take that and apply it to wherever you are right now, woman making history, and keep moving forward to do what is best for you to be fulfilled and to feel good about you. That's number one. Number two, I shared this earlier on my Facebook and Instagram pages, but I will share it here in case you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube. So I put out a challenge, and I'm going to say that wherever you are watching this challenge applies to you, and you can post it there. Tomorrow, March the 31st, last day of Women's History Month by the calendar. We know that women will continue making history even after the month is over, so that goes without saying. But for tomorrow, I am asking for as many women who choose to do so to post a picture of yourself, whatever kind of picture you want, whether you are, maybe it's a professional photo shoot, maybe it's the best picture that you love in your camera roll of yourself, maybe you're dressed up, you're dressed down, you got makeup on, you don't have makeup on, whatever you choose, baseball cap, hair done, you choose, but post a picture of yourself and include the statement, I'm making history by, and you fill in the blank, okay? So tomorrow, March the 31st, post a picture of yourself. You choose the picture. Now, it's going on social media, so I don't have to go into saying, choose something that is appropriate for social media. Now, I'm just going to say that. Now, not that I think you would post anything else, but I just figured I'd throw that out there. Anyway, post the pic. Fill in the blank, make the statement, I'm making history by. You fill in the blank. So whatever it is that you feel like you're making history on, then you post that and use the hashtag Women's History Month. And this is how I plan to close out Women's History Month. And I'm asking for any other woman who is willing to join me to do just that. So post it on your page. You can tag me. So if you post it on Facebook, if you post it on LinkedIn, if you post it on Instagram, actually, Instagram is TruSynergy_. I'll talk about that at the end. And then if you post it on Facebook or LinkedIn, it is tag me at Ericka Sallee. So this is all about sharing your declaration. Like, what are you doing to make history? Now, when you think about that, that doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be some grand thing, like I'm going to save 1 million people in a foreign country. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Whatever it is, and it might be, but whatever it is that you feel like you are doing, how you show up, I'm making history by being the best version of myself. Well, what does that look like? I'm making history by being a published author. I'm making history by transforming the lives of women who need a little extra confidence and self-esteem. Like, I'm making history by being the best mother that I can possibly be. I'm making history by creating a brand new organization too, blah, 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 whatever. It can be whatever it is that you decide that you are going to do for you, and then you go after that thing. So that is the charge for tomorrow, March the 31st. And so I'm going to do it. I'll probably do it in the morning, and then hopefully many others of you will join me on the journey to closing out Women's History Month. Hey, good to see you on with me live this evening. Always a pleasure to see you in this space, and I appreciate you and your support, Miss Jaquista. So thank you so much. So let's get on, because there was a lot of information to share at the beginning, but I also want to remind you that if you are tuning in, whether you are tuning in live or you happen to come back and see the replay, yes, I do want you to hashtag Ignite Your TruSelf. Be mindful of the spelling of true self. It's TRUSELF. So do hashtag Ignite Your TruSelf. Let your community know that you are here in this space. And if there's something that resonates with you as I share the information for tonight, then by all means, go ahead and share that out as well. So let's jump into the topic for tonight. The topic is the balance myth. Now, this is a conversation I've had on multiple occasions, and I literally had to go back through all of my scripts for the year, from January when we started the show up to now, because I'm like, did I share this out already in this platform? And I went back, I looked at the scripts, and I'm like, nope, didn't talk about it. But it's something that I talk about often. And I think it's important to reiterate, because sometimes we hear something and we got it for a minute, and then we go away, life starts happening, experiences start happening, and then it's like, oh gosh, then we kind of revert back. And so it's always good to go back to something as a refresher, because our brains, our everything in us needs it at times. And so this is one of those times where I want to go back and bring this topic to the forefront. So the balance myth. So here's a question, and I want you to be really honest. How many of you have said, I'm looking for balance? You can type it in the chat. You can say me. You can put a little emoji in there. You can say, OMG, that's me. I'm looking for balance. I'm looking for balance. I'm just going to raise my hand, because I know for sure that back in the day, until I learned this lesson that I'm about to share with you, I would say it, and I would engage in conversation with other people who were saying it, because that was what I understood. Like, I'm looking for balance. I'm trying to find balance. And so, oh my goodness, a little part, I'm not even going to tell y'all what just happened. It's very interesting. One of my favorite rings just came off the little piece here. I knew that was going to happen. So anyway, let's move on. So, looking for balance. Here's the thing. When we say that, what's happening is it often sends us into what I call a frenzy, because usually when we say it, we're kind of in the middle of either activities, or we're looking at our time and we're just trying to manage through. And it's the first thing that comes to mind. I'm trying to find balance. I gotta get balanced. I gotta figure this out. Like, that is such a common statement that we often make. So what I want you to think about is something very different after tonight's conversation. So the first thing that I want to be really, really clear on, and I wish that I could take credit for this, but I really can't. I learned this lesson from my coach, Lisa Nichols, years ago. And the moment I learned it, it was like it burned something in my brain, because it shifted the whole conversation and perspective that I was having about balance. And when I learned it, it was so simple, but yet so profound. And I'm going to explain to you why. So the first thing that I want to say to you about this idea of balance is that it really doesn't exist the way that we frame it. Okay. It does not exist the way that we frame it. So here's what you can say. When you think about something that's being balanced, the first thing that comes to mind for me is imagining the scale. So if you think about a scale, just imagine that my hands are a scale. And if you put two objects into my hands on the scale, then depending on the weight of those objects, it may be unbalanced. So in order to find balance, let's imagine that there are two things that are of equal weight that we put on the scale. And when you calibrate it, then you can say, oh, wait, okay, they're equal, they're side by side, they're balanced. Okay. So I think of a scale that really helps to paint the picture of something being balanced. All right. Now, when I say it doesn't exist, the way that we frame it, here's the reason why. The second tip is when we think about balance, think about reframing the way that we view time, because that's often when we associate, oh my gosh, I'm trying to find balance. You're working and you're trying to get your kids off to school or sports or other activities. You're trying to do all of these things and you're looking at your time and you're saying, okay, I got to figure out, like, how do I balance all these things out? So the second tip is reframing how you view your time. And so here's the reason why. So let's break it down. Think about the hours in your day. So let's say you work an 8-hour job. Okay. So you've got 8 hours of time. You get off of work. Let's say you stop at the store. It takes you 30 minutes in the grocery store. You get home, you spend an hour and a half cooking dinner. When dinner's over, you're going to clean up the kitchen or work with your family to get the kitchen clean. So maybe that takes you another 30 minutes. And then you say, oh goodness, I have, 30 minutes to sit down and watch one of my favorite shows. Okay. So just think about that for a minute. So you've got 8 hours. Then you've got the 30 minutes in the grocery store. You've got the hour and a half that is taking you to prepare dinner. Then you've got 30. So you see how the time is already showing you that it's not balanced, because all of the time that you're spending on the various things that you have to do is not equal. Most of your time is spent at a job or working your business. And then you've got these other little chunks of time where you're fitting other things in. So when we reframe it, because when we say we're trying to find balance, that suggests that we're trying to find equal time for all the things that we have to do. And in the demonstration that I just gave you, you see how that's not going to work. So when I'm sharing this with my clients, I say, so stop trying to find something that doesn't exist the way we're trying to frame it. We're trying to look at that scale and say, hey, all things equal. But that's not the case, given the fact that the hour demonstration that I just gave you reflects how different time can be spent among the various things that we have to do. Okay. You with me? So tip number 2 says, if you reframe how you view your time and you say to yourself, okay, I already know that with everything that I have to do, the time itself is not going to equal. It's not going to spread out evenly across all these things. Now, if you were in a situation where you said, okay, I'm going to devote 3 hours to my job. I'm going to devote 3 hours to, cooking dinner. I'm going to devote another 3 hours. Like, if you could spread hours out equally across the day, then maybe you could say, okay, there's my balance. But the reality of it is, how many of us experience that? Do you? I know I don't. And so I say, stop saying I'm trying to find balance. Instead, I'm going to take you to tip number 3 and say, consider harmony instead. When I learned this from Lisa, it was like the light bulb went on. There was confetti dropping down. There was, like, those little party favors that you get when you blow on it and the little thing goes out. It's like all of that stuff was happening, because I'm like, this changes the game in terms of how I apply myself. So what does harmony mean? So harmony means, I think that, there we go. I was trying to brighten up a little bit. So harmony says that I'm going to look at all the areas where I'm spending time. I'm going to engage in that time and that activity, and I'm going to be in a place of peace with it. I'm going to recognize that, okay, if I got to make a living, I got to keep the lights on, I got to pay the bills, then this 8-hour space that I'm in is a place where I'm going to do my best to find the peace that I need to get through those 8 hours. When I come home, and even before you get home, you leave work, let's say it takes you 30 minutes to get from work to home. That 30 minutes, you're like, okay, this is a space where I can either fuss and cuss because everybody on the road is driving crazy, or I'm stuck in traffic, or I can use this time to say, let me just decompress a little bit. Let me listen to something that's going to wind me down. Let me take some time to breathe. Let me just be in the best possible mode that I can be in on this drive. Let me be safe. Let me just not be in a rush, because number one, I want to get to my destination safely, and I want to help other people do the same. Okay. That's how we can find harmony. When you go into the grocery store, if you got to stop at the grocery store and that takes you 15 minutes after 15 or 30 minutes after, driving home, you leave work, you drive home, you go to the grocery store. The harmony in that is, I'm not going to walk in there with an attitude, or somebody bumps into my car and I'm not going to be ready to fuss and cuss and flip them off. And, that's a harmony. That's a harmony space. When you get home, engaging conversation. If you have a family at home, just kind of making that space a space that feels good, that you can have fun, you can be light, and you can enjoy it. That's where the harmony comes in. So we're not just talking about how the hours themselves and how they're split, but we're also talking about how we show up in each of those spaces to make it the best possible experience for us and for those that we are connected to. So when we consider harmony, instead of, I got to try to find balance, there's a difference. So that balance piece, because if we're always trying to find something that doesn't exist, then we're always going to, or in most cases, we're going to be frustrated. We're going to be angry. We're going to be short-tempered. Oh my gosh, I wish I had more time to do this. Oh my goodness, I can't believe. That's all the stuff, because we're in our mind, we're thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm trying to find balance. I'm trying to find it and it's not there, but I don't recognize it. I'm still trying to find it. So when I'm trying to find it and it's not there and the time is what it is, then we get to a place of angst. But when we think about harmony, just think about what that word means. And I had not thought about this, but I'm going to quickly go to my online dictionary. Back in the day, we used to pull the dictionary off the shelf, the physical, big, thick dictionary, to look up the words that we wanted to find. So harmony says, and this is, let me try to find, here's one that might be close to give you the context of what I'm saying. Pleasing arrangement of parts. Okay. Internal calm, tranquility. So I think that first one is the one that kind of sticks to me the most, a pleasing arrangement of parts. So if you had to arrange all the parts of your day, even though they're different buckets of time, then it's a pleasing arrangement of those things. Okay, I know I have to go to work. Let me, do the best I can to make it as good as I can. Make it, and stuff happens. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say you don't have moments or there aren't challenges. But moving through those challenges, at the end of the day, the goal is to get to a place where you can say, you know what, let me find the harmony in this. If I know my hours are split and I'm doing different things, it just is a reality of the way my life is structured. But wherever I am, I'm going to show up and plant myself in a way that brings about that the peace, and that brings about that ability to put those parts together in a pleasing way, so that no matter where your time is spent, you're bringing something to the table that says, I'm going to do my best to enjoy this time. I'm going to do my best to work through this time in a harmonious way, even in the midst of some challenges. Okay. So that's really, the focus is just to get to the point where you say, all right, let me stop looking for something that doesn't exist. Let me make the best of how the hours are spent, and just acknowledge that, I might have to spend more time over here and less time here to get things done. But here's where the part that when we talk about igniting your true self. So how does this fit into that conversation? So let's just say part of your true self is being the healthiest version of yourself. And I use this as an example often because I think it's very relatable to many people. So healthiest version might be what you want to put into your body, what you eat. It might be fitness, how you actively pursue working out and things of that nature. So let's just say that you've said to yourself, well, that's getting me closer to, the best version of my true self, but I'm trying to find the balance that's going to allow me to work out. Does that sound familiar? So, what Harmony says is that you make a commitment to do one of two things. Either you say to yourself all the time that you never have time to work out, or you say, you know what, even if I just get 15 minutes in, I know I've worked 8 hours. I know it took me 30 minutes to cook. I know I had to spend an hour and a half helping my kids with their homework and talking to them, catching up with them for the day. Okay. So if I just took 15 minutes out, if working out is going to align me with my true self, then I'm either going to put in a smaller amount of time to do it, or I'm going to say, you know what, it's a sacrifice I have to make. So when everybody goes to bed or before everybody gets up in the morning, I'm going to just get up, spend a little bit of extra time and do it. So when you talk about this idea of moving barriers out of the way and really connecting with your true self and what's going to make you better, make you healthier, make you more fulfilled, make you joyous, make you happy, that means that we can no longer use the excuse when we buy into these 3 tips. We can no longer use the excuse, I'm trying to find the balance to do this. I'm trying to find the balance, because really what you're saying is, I'm trying to find the time. I'm trying to move everything else. I'm trying to make it equal. And what I'm saying to you right now is that doesn't exist. And so the best approach is to say, whatever time I'm allotting is the place that I'm going to find not just harmony, but I'm also going to find the success in utilizing that time in the best way. Okay. There's a whole conversation around time and realigning and readjusting, but hopefully you got the gist of that conversation in terms of moving that myth out of the way. All right. So if you have any comments, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat before we get ready to wrap up. I'm going to go back through the three tips really, really quickly before we close out for this week's conversation. So the first tip is to know that balance doesn't exist the way that we frame it. Yes, it exists when we're trying to put something on a scale to weigh things and make sure that things are equal. We might have children and we might be trying to, let's say you have 2 kids and you're 2 younger kids and you're packing their lunches. You might create balance between those 2 kids to make sure both of them have the same sandwich and both of them have the same exact amount of snacks and the same type of snack. Okay, that's balance. But when you think about it from the context of, oh my goodness, I have so many things going on and I'm trying to find balance. And because I can't find balance, that means I can't do X, Y, and Z. And I'm saying, get rid of that. Stop thinking about it that way. And instead begin to reframe how you view your time. And how you view your time is understanding I've got 8 hours here. I've got 2 hours here. I got 30 minutes here. So I already know it's not balanced. So if I reframe my time, then it helps me to step back from trying to find something that doesn't exist. Because you already know the way that the hours are spread out, that it doesn't work out where everything is equal. And what that will then lead you to do is to consider harmony instead. What that basically means is that wherever I'm showing up, Whatever thing requires the time from me. If I'm showing up at work for 8 hours, I'm going to take the harmony with me. And when I take that harmony, more than likely, I'm going to get the best result, even as I move through some of the challenges that come along with that. When I show up at the grocery store, I'm going to take the harmony with me, and I'm going to know that, okay, I'm operating in this space where I've got this amount of time. So I'm not trying to find the balance. I'm just trying to be in this time, in this moment, and this 30 minutes is going to take me to get in the grocery store, get my stuff, get to the line, check out, and get back in the car. When I get home, I'm not trying to find balance because I know I'm going to spend an hour and a half to cook dinner, sit down with the family, have conversation. Okay, I'm showing up in that space. So you're bringing yourself to each of those areas, and you're doing it in the best possible way that you can for you and for those around you. So as we wrap up, I will say a few final things, and then we will let you get on with the rest of your evening. I do want to remind you that if you have not seen the information session for the Bold Brilliant Boss Leaders program for women in leadership, I would suggest that you check that out. It is on my YouTube channel. I will also repost the link so that you can go directly to it. You know, one of the things that I think becomes an issue for us as women and women in leadership is that we often use this phrase, I can't find balance, because you're trying to look at your role as a leader, as a woman, and you're looking at all the other things that you have on your plate. And so a lot of times we kind of check out of some things, or we diminish our ability to be more effective because we're like, oh gosh, where is the balance? And so this is a conversation that kind of fits into some of those things that we dispel in this program, because it helps you to refocus attention and kind of shift the mindset and thought process around your profession, as well as what you do personally as a woman in leadership. So check out the information session on my YouTube channel. You can get all of what you need about the program, what's included, how it works. And then if you have any questions, there are specific instructions as to how to follow up on those questions. And then finally, what I will say is that if you are listening to this and you're saying to yourself, okay, I got some more questions. Like, I heard this thing about balance, and looking at my schedule and looking at my life, I'm really not sure how to apply that. I think I might know, but I'm not really sure. If you have specific questions as it pertains to you individually, then I do encourage you to go to trusynergy.org. There is an opportunity to reach out to me through the contact tab, and we can have a conversation about what pertains to you. You can also join me next Thursday. Goodness gracious, next Thursday is right before Easter. So Thursday, that would be April the 6th. Come back here for next week's topic, and that is why you keep postponing your happiness. All right. You know, the true essence of who you are created to be is connected to happy, to joy, to peace. And you might just be putting it off and you don't even realize it. So I'm going to be talking about why you might be doing that next week. So I'm going to encourage you to join me then, and do invite a friend. And so finally, I will tell you that you can also check out my social media connections through my link tree, but I will share with you here that on Instagram, you can find me at TruSynergy_ on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It is at Ericka Sallee. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, I do encourage you to subscribe to the channel, go ahead and share it out, and then turn the notification bell on so that you get updates on when new videos are uploaded. So I do appreciate the time that you spent with me on this Thursday evening, and I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Until I do, take care of yourselves, and yes, be well. Good night. Thank you, Jaquista.